Now tonight, President William Ruto is just 2 MPs shy of an absolute majority in the National Assembly. That's usually pegged at 233 MPs if the recent shift of allegiance to the government is anything to go by. The president last week met some 8 Nyanza MPs allied to the Azimio coalition, as well as a majority of Jubilee MPs who announced that they will be working with the Kenya Kwanza administration. The shift of loyalty, coming 6 months after Kenya Kwanza won the presidency with 164 MPs, is a major boost for the president. Just how did he win that big, almost having a supermajority? Our political affairs reporter David Mudoka interrogates.
In August last year, just after he was declared president-elect, William Ruto had to immediately shift his focus from worrying whether he will become president or not to figuring out how he would run government. And as he planned and pondered on the daunting task ahead, President Ruto was quick to realize that he did not have control in parliament, an arm of government that he would have to heavily rely on numbers to push his legislative agenda and also fulfill the Kenya Kwanza plan. At the time, President Ruto's Kenya Kwanza had 164 MPs, while the opposition Azimio had 173 MPs. As the minority, President Ruto was staring at missing out on, among other seats, the Speaker's seat, the Majority Leader's seat, and seats of chairpersons of powerful committees. This meant any business in the House will be determined by the opposition, and for the first time, the government will be doing the opposition's duty in Parliament. To tilt the scales to his favor, President Ruto embarked on a charm offensive, this time on independents and some opposition MPs. It bore fruits. Some 7 MPs from the United Democratic Movement Party agreed to cross the floor alongside 10 independents and 1 MP each from KANU, MDG, UPIA and NAPK parties. 2 Pamoja African Alliance MPs and 2 Maendeleo Chap MPs, originally in Azimio as per a pre-election pact, as well shifted their allegiance to the president, meaning that Kenya Kwanza now had become the majority with 189 seats, while the opposition minority with 158 seats. 6 months later, and it now appears that the president is pushing to not only have a majority, but an absolute majority in parliament. Last week, Tuesday, President Ruto hosted 7 ODM MPs, an independent MP, and an ODM senator at State House in what was termed a consultative meeting. A day later, the head of state met 34 Jubilee MPs at State House for a meeting that culminated with all 34 promising to jump the opposition ship and board the governments.
Tunafuata footstep za our party leader. When we're in the elections 2017-2018, he's the first person who went to look for Raila Amolo Odinga and looked for a handshake.
If the 2 groups formally cross the floor or even independently vote with the government on key bills and motions, then President Ruto's Kenya Kwanza side will be having about 231 MPs, just 2 seats shy of an absolute majority, while the opposition numbers will shrink to 117 seats. In his Nakuru speech on Monday, President Ruto gave the clearest indication yet of his push for superdominance in the 13th parliament. By having these numbers in his corner, the president will easily have his agenda sailed through parliament, including constitutional amendments which require the vote of 2/3 majority.
Kila kiongozi kutoka kila sehemu ya Kenya, yule ambaye ako tayari tupange mambo ya maendeleo pamoja. Hawa viongozi wote nitaketi chini na wao tupange mambo ya maendeleo ya Kenya. Hatuhitaji ruhusa ya mtu mwingine yeyote.
Hakuna maendeleo State House. Hakuna maendeleo State House. Wale ambao wanaenda kule, wanaenda kwa sababu ya tumbo yao.
Odinga has, however, maintained that no amount of defections will weaken the opposition. The journey to an absolute majority in parliament for President William Ruto now seems unstoppable, with a gap between a majority and the absolute majority just 2 seats, and with opposition leader Raila Odinga saying that the door is wide open for any opposition MP tempted to join the government. Who will blink first among the 117 left? Time will tell. David Mudoka, KTN News, Nairobi.
And speaking of Jubilee, is David Murathe still the vice chairman of the party? Is Jeremiah Kioni the secretary general? Well, the Register of Political Parties has spoken about this. Keep it here. After the break, we'll tell you what she has to say.